Hello, I'm Matthew Fry. I'm the Environmental Health and Safety Lead for Nuvasive here in Ohio. Um, Today we are taking a look at our EHS training for contractors, just to make sure everybody understands um, requirements on site here and what to do in case of an emergency. So, first things first, safety is our number one goal here. We want everybody to go home the way that they arrived. It's part of your responsibility being on site here to say something if you see something, um, and if you're not sure of what to do or what the proper procedure is, please stop and ask somebody. The orientation needs to be given to all vendors to make sure everybody is working safely within federal and local regulations. Uh, just fair warning to all vendors, um, contractors, you may be instructed to stop work if there's a potential risk to personnel, the environment, equipment, or facilities, and that could come from anybody within the site. So if somebody asks you to stop work, we need to figure out what's going on before we continue to work. Any willful or repeat violations may result in work being stopped and the offending contractor vendor being removed from the site. Personal protective equipment. So while you're on site here, there's a few things that need to be worn at all times while you're out on the shop floor. One of those being safety glasses. The safety glasses have to be Z87 approved. So they have to be rated safety glasses with permanent side shields. So we don't offer side shields, right? They need to be permanently fixed. Prescription glasses obviously you can wear prescription safety glasses, but they have to have the ANSI stamp and the permanent side shields. If not, then they're not compliant. We do have the overkeeps that you can wear, and those are located at the buckets before each door before you head out onto the floor. There are a few other pieces of PPE that are required. Closed-toe shoes are required at all times. Closed-toe and heel, so no sandals, no Crocs, nothing like that. Some sort of fully covered shoe or boot. We do not require steel-toe boots at this time. Now, whatever type of work you guys are here for, if there's a risk of a fall, obviously fall protection needs to be worn. This section right here is not to cover every piece of PPE that may be worn. This is specific to what's required at all times. So, safety glasses and closed-toed shoes. Rules of the road. So these are our 5S color standards. So red is for emergency, hazard, or danger, and these color standards, they will be on the floor around equipment, around areas, things like that. Things that are also striped black and yellow are keep clear, hot, or danger, and then solid purple or yellow can both be considered walkways, aisles, and may be used for transporting equipment at times. We do have one forklift here. It does not operate all day, every day, like some manufacturing facilities. It operates sometimes, but when it does operate in the walking path. So we do have bubble mirrors up. Make sure you're looking out for that, and you're aware that the forklift could be in the walking areas. Please keep your phones in your pockets while you're out on the production floor. It's another distraction. Also, liquid containers must have lockable lids. So obviously, no cups with soda pop or anything like that. It has to be a lockable lid, meaning I have to be able to turn it upside down and nothing should be able to spill out. That's a safety issue as well as a quality issue. We are a medical device facility, so anything that could potentially touch our parts has to be approved as a contact material. So absolutely no food on the production floor, no liquid drinks unless they're in a lockable liquid container. Obviously, obviously no smoking in the site, but there's no smoking on the property. Um, if they're smoking within the building, that you would be dismissed immediately. Forklift traffic, like we talked about, use the bubble mirrors, make eye contact with the forklift operator, make sure they see you and they're fully stopped before you attempt to walk in the area. First aid, we do have first aid providers throughout the facility here. We do not have open first aid kits available for everybody. So whoever your point of contact is, they can point out maybe the closest first aid providers in your area. If not, anybody with a red breakaway lanyard is a first aid provider. Myself in EHS, I can help out with anything first aid related. You can always give me a call. Bloodborne pathogens. If there is an incident involving any bodily fluid and other than your own, it's your responsibility to not come into contact with it. Things like HIV, hepatitis, these can still be transmitted through blood-to-blood contact, even after that blood's been dried for a week to a week and a half, right? So somebody from our first aid area needs to respond and take care of that. Nuvasive secondary container labels. Anything that's a secondary container has to be appropriate labeled. So you see on the right of the screen here is what's called the HMIS label. It'll have the chemical name, and then it should have health, flammability, physical hazard, and PPE filled in. Every part of that has to be filled in and has to be appropriate. So HAZCOM. If any contractors, vendors are bringing any chemicals on site, those need to be approved from EHS if they're a hazardous substance, and you also have to have the safety data sheet with you. Having a safety data sheet out in your vehicle is not with you, right? You cannot immediately produce it if there was an emergency. So they have to be close by in the workspace. Talked about last slide, all secondary containers have to be labeled. We have safety data sheets for our chemicals available for everybody out on the shop floor. One of them in the middle of the shop floor at the A-frame, and another one over by the clean room. Lockout, tagout. Please always follow lockout, tagout requirements. Your employer is required to provide that training to you, so we will not be doing a full lotto training during this. And you should have your own locks with you as well. Please always put your own lock on the equipment. If you're not putting your own lock on the equipment, if there's 4 people working on something, there needs to be 4 locks on it. If not, that's a violation. Lockout, tagout means many different forms of energy, right? Lotto is always specific about energy. So anything with the potential that could hurt somebody, that means chemical, electrical, thermal, anything with stored energy that could hurt somebody needs to be locked out. Failure to follow Lotto will result in immediate dismissal from Nuvasive. We have a no tolerance on lockout tagout. So before you work on something, if you have any questions about it, get with myself, get with Chuck Boggs and facilities, make sure you understand those requirements. Don't store anything in front of a circuit breaker, panel, or electrical disconnect. We got to keep 36-inch clearance in front of all of those. You'll see the black and yellow 5S tape on the ground in front of all of these. Please no extension cords for non-portable equipment and no daisy chaining of power strips. It's where you plug one power strip into the wall, plug another power strip into that power strip. That puts way too much load on the circuit. That'll overload it, and that'll lead to a fire. No repetitive manual reclosing of circuit breakers. If the machine or equipment is faulting out, we need to have somebody come take a look at it, right? So maintenance can help out with that. And then any hand tools must be double insulated, and anything with a 3-prong has to have a ground prong. Equipment safety. Do not use any of the equipment if you're not trained and authorized. Do not bypass any equipment guards. If you're taking guards off of a piece of equipment, it needs to be locked down. If there's something going on as far as intermittent issues with the machine, and you need to report it to somebody, they need to be timely and detailed, and you need to be able to get that information to maintenance as soon as possible. When we are doing lockout tagout, there should be barriers up coming in and out of that area, so you should not be able to access it. Do not dispose of any waste or recyclable in any location other than where it's supposed to go. Hazardous waste must be put into an approved compatible container, and always ensure that the container you are using is made of a compatible material. No chemicals, oils, metalworking fluids are to be poured down the drain. We have a wastewater permit through the city and with the state, and our water gets tested every other month, to make sure we're compliant and that nothing is being discharged into the city water supply. So please, absolutely no chemicals down the drain. Working from heights, all overhead work must be contained utilizing yellow cones. If you're up in a scissor lift, 25 feet in the air, if you dropped a hammer, it could land on somebody, right? So the yellow cones, they need to be around your workspace, and it needs to be cordoned off. Chains, caution tape, either one, but there cannot be anybody within the drop zone. A harness must be worn when utilizing any lift, and fall protection must be used anytime work is completed at elevations of 4 feet or greater. Your employer should be providing working from heights training to you. Fire prevention. We must always maintain separation between ignition and fuel sources. We have a lot of alcohol in our facility here. We have to have it to cut the oil off our parts. Obviously, there's an inherent risk that comes with that, right? So if there's any sort of hot work that needs to be done, anything that is producing sparks, flames, you need to have a hot work permit with you, right? We need to make sure combustible materials are out of that area, make sure there's no alcohol in that area, anything like that. Bulk flammable chemicals need to be stored in approved flammable cabinets. We have a few flammable cabinets out on the floor there. Small point of use containers can stay with you, stay on the workbench. Do not store combustibles in or on top of flammable storage cabinets. And if you are using something like alcohol, acetone, something that evaporates rapidly and is very flammable, please keep it covered. That'll help you save some of your chemical, but also prevents it from putting flammable vapors into the air. And also, we discussed this earlier, but again, no smoking on the property. Flammable metals. One of the main things we work with here is titanium. Titanium is a flammable metal, so obviously the large titanium stock is not flammable, but chips, dust, all of that is extremely flammable. So we do have Class D extinguishers available throughout the site. Class D is for flammable metals. If it is a metal fire, it'll be very, very bright. It'll be very, very hot. It'll be just like any other metal fire you've seen. The sparklers that are done on 4th of July, those are magnesium. That's a metal fire, right? In most circumstances, you're not going to be able to extinguish a metal fire with just water. If anything, the water is going to spread it out and make the fire worse. The Class D extinguisher is also not going to shoot out. It's really meant for you to get on top of it with the soft flow extension wand here and smother the fire. You're not going to get a 10-foot lob from this extinguisher. It's really meant for you to be up close, a foot, 2 foot from the fire. Most of our Chirones, Microns, Mills, have built-in fire suppression systems. We're working on doing that in the turn in the lathe area. But until then, you know, be on standby in that area with the Class D fire extinguishers. And of course, you know, if the fire is too hot, if it's too big, and you're not in the incipient stage, obviously, you know, at any point during that stage, exit the facility, your closest exit. Your fire alarm pull stations will be at the exit, right? You're not going to find any in the middle of the shop floor. That's to encourage people to start evacuating, right? So on your way out the door, you'll see the fire alarm. You can then pull it. We cannot re-enter the building until the fire department has arrived and they give us the all clear. Any contractors or vendors will report to rally point number 5. Okay, rally point 5 is where you'll go. It's also labeled out there, so if you forget, you know, you can walk up to the rally points. They're out front, directly outside the front door on the grass there. If it's severe weather outside, the fire department may redirect us to shelter in place in another side of the building, but you know, just so we're all on the same page, we're all out safely and we can account for everybody, we will always meet at the rally points out front first, right? So here's a little map of our facility here. You can see right here is the front door. So you would come directly out the front door, and here's your rally points on the grass. These hashed areas, hash marks, are our tornado assembly areas. These are the bathrooms. This is also a locker room. There's also a bathroom down here, but this is not a tornado shelter. So if there's a tornado, make sure you're reporting up to the large bathrooms up front here. And that is tied into our fire alarm panel, so there will be an alarm if we need to report to the tornado assembly areas. Access cards may be provided to you as a contractor or vendor. Please do not let anybody else into the building with you or behind you. In fact, that everybody that comes into the building has to check in with the front desk. If you guys have multiple people in your group, everybody needs to come to the front desk and get checked in. You know, when you leave the building, make sure other people are not trying to enter through the door as you're leaving, right? Just direct them back up to the front of the building. Contact information. So if you need to get in contact with myself in EHS, my email, mfry@nuvasive.com, and my phone number, and then maintenance. Chuck Boggs is the head of maintenance. If you need to get a hold of him, cboggs@nuvasive.com, as well as his phone number. All right. Thank you, everybody.